Hi team, welcome again to Scratch Track. Today we're going to continue from where we left yesterday. Yesterday we were looking at what games are, the different elements of a game and the mechanisms to use in a game. And then we went also Okay, let's do this again. So welcome to Scratch Track this week. So we're going to continue from where we left yesterday. We were talking about games yesterday, and we were able to look at the different elements that make up a game and the different mechanisms that are found in a game. Then we went and looked at Scratch, the different blocks that help us to come up with a good game and to be able to implement the mechanisms and the different elements of a game. So today we're going to look at an example of a game and look at those blocks, how they've been used, so that you can be able to get a clear understanding of what we were talking about yesterday. And then we can be able to so that we can be able to understand what we were talking about yesterday very clearly. And then, yes, get the practical bit of it. So yesterday was more of explaining what games are, how they're made up, what to include in your game, what to consider when coming up with a game. So today we're going to look at an example of a game and look at how the different blocks in Scratch have been used to be able to make that game work. So before we go into the game, I'm going to go back, do a brief review again. So yesterday we looked at the control blocks that help us to implement the different conditions that we want in our game. We also looked at the operator blocks, the sensor blocks, and we also looked at variables and listing in Scratch and the different blocks the different type of blocks that are found in all these categories. So today we're going to use some of them, not all of them, in the game that I've prepared to demonstrate to you guys. So let us look at it. Let us ask questions where we feel we are not comfortable so that we're able to get it to understand better how to implement or how to create a game using Scratch. So this is my game. My game is about healthy diet. So as we were talking about games yesterday, we talked about the storyline, and I was able to tell you can use the SDGs, that is the Sustainable Development Goals by the UN, to be able to decide under what category or what kind of a problem or what kind of a game you want to bring. So what is the storyline behind your game? So from my game today, I've picked one of these SDGs and I've used it to create my storyline for my game. So these are the SDGs I was talking about yesterday. So we have 17 of them. So you can have a game that lies under reduced inequalities. You can have a game under life on land. You can have a game on life below the water. You can have a game maybe under clean water and sanitation. So you teach people or you'll help people know how to clean water or collect water to be able to save their water, how to keep their water clean, all those. So these are the SDGs I was talking about yesterday. So you can look at them, look at different categories, and maybe it can give you an idea of how to create your game or what your game can be all about. Or you can come up with your game, then look at these SDGs, and then they can help you be more focused or help you know what to do next. So in our game today, we're going to have to see the different blocks that have been used in Scratch and then be able to understand what we were talking about yesterday. So this is my game. As you can see, it's a maze and it has different parts. It has different routes and we have our character down here. So I've not used a sprite of a human being or a person. I've used a sprite of a letter to represent a name of a person. So you can use anything in your game. Just think of your game and think of what you want to do with it. Then you can be able to use it. So as you can see, we have a maze, and I've been able to create my background, my backdrop using that. And then I have the different sprites that I'm using. I've been able to put them in the specific locations that I want them. And then you can see there's something here called healthy. So this is a variable, and yesterday we talked about variables. So I'm going to show you how to include variables in your games, and then how to work, how to draw your maze, how to come up with your maze, how to put your backdrop. So you can have your maze as your backdrop or a costume, or a sprite. So it's up to you to decide. So for my case, I've used a sprite as my backdrop. So as my maze is a sprite, not a backdrop, sorry. Yeah, and then we have the different sprites, as you can see. So I'm going to take you through the game, then we can actually do the game on Scratch, and you see how I was able to come up with the game. So in our Scratch, so I'm going to put Scratch so that you're able to see how I was able to come up with the game using Scratch. And then you can understand what I'm trying to talk about, or how I was able to come up with my game. So I'm going to go straight into this. So here we have Scratch. And let me balance it so that everyone can be able to see it. Yeah, so I have my blocks, and then I have my sprite here. So I'm going to add all the sprites that I need. So the first one that I need to upload I need an apple. Then we'll go to see, I need let me go to fruit so that it's easy. So I'm going to pick my different type of foods that I need in my game. So in my game, it has even a watermelon. Then it has bananas. Yes. Then what else was there? Yeah, so we have the banana. We have the watermelon, and then we have this. We have an apple. Oh yes, we have a donut. So is a donut a healthy food, or it's a snack? Where do donuts fall under? So we're going to see that very soon. Then I'm going to upload, because I don't have the maze as part of my sprites. As you can see, these are my sprites, but I don't have a maze. So I'm going to come to sprites, and then I'll go to upload, and then I'll be able to look for my maze. So where are you, Mr. Maze? Maze. So that one, then I pick it. So you can see I have my maze here. So, and then once I come to the costume, I can be able to give the size of my maze. So I just need to select it, and then I can be able to manipulate and get a good size as I need it to be. So if I need it to be that big, so I just make it as big as I want. All that. So let's say it's there. Yeah. So maybe I want it that big. As you can see. Sorry. Yeah. Then we go back to the code. So as you can see, I have my sprites, and they're of different sizes. So we talked of control blocks. So when we talk of control blocks, we're talking about these blocks, and we were able to look at them yesterday. Then we have sensing blocks, operators that we said are used in different ways in games. And then we have what we call variables. So in our game today, I want us to be able to create a game such that the sprite is able to move around the maze, making the looking for the right path to be able to get the healthy foods, which in this case are the fruits. And then my sprite, which is a cat, but I'm going to change that and use a different thing. So I want it, so I'm going to click on this sprite cat and then delete it. And then I'm going to use a letter, where the letters here, then I pick letter A. So that's what I'm going to use today. So I want us to add a few codes to these sprites and these different backdrops so that we are able to decide how the character, my sprite, which is letter A, to represent Agnes. So it's supposed to move through the maze using the right path and pick the healthy foods, which are the fruits in this case. And once they are able to pick the fruits, Agnes is supposed to get points, or to show that Agnes is eating healthy meals. While when she comes across the snacks, if she gets in contact with the snacks, I want Agnes to lose her points. That means maybe she's adding fat into her body, or the foods are not very healthy for her. So that's what I want us to be able to do. So I want us to see how we can be able to use the different blocks to be able to create games. So I'm going to start with the maze itself. So I'm going to click on the maze, this one. Once I click on it, I'm going to give it instructions. So I'm going to tell it when I click the green flag, I want it to go to a specific position. So I want to give it a specific position so that it does not keep moving. So as you can see, I can always move my maze in different position, but I don't want that to happen while the game is on. So I'm going to specify it to be in a specific position. So first I'm going to make it bigger. Yes, so that it fits very well in our area. Yes, like that. Yeah, so I think that's better. Okay, so we go to the code. So I want to give it a specific position. So once the flag is clicked, I want it to be in a specific position. So how do we give specific positions? We use the X and Y coordinates to be able to get the specific position. So as you can see, I can tell the X position using this and the Y position of my maze using that. So that these coordinates will help me be able to know what to fix here. And as you can see, because I've not changed anything, they're still picking the default, which is X is 23 and Y is negative 17. So what am I going to do next? So once I'm done with the maze, so I need to be able to control these different sprites and put them in specific positions. So I'm going to start with my main character. So yesterday we were talking about characters. So my main character is A. So I'm going to make sure A knows where to stand, which is, this is the beginning of the game and this is the end of the maze. So I need to specify where I want my character to be standing. So I'm going to get an event and I tell it when the flag is clicked, because the flag is the one that will trigger the game to start. Remember, event blocks, they're used to trigger action. So I'm going to give it specific instructions. So first, I'll give it a size because it's too big. I want it to fit in my maze, so I'm going to give it a size in using the %. So I'll give it size, let's say 25%. And then I'll tell it to be in that specific position. So we can first click, so we see it has reduced the size. Then I want it to be standing there in that position. So how do I get this position? So I have to read the X and the Y values. So I tell it to go to a specific position using the X and Y values. So that one is clear. So I'll do the same to all my other sprites because I want them to be standing in a specific position. So because of when we are coding, we can be able to reuse our codes. Once I create a code and I want to use the same code for other sprites, so I want to dictate a position and a size for all my other sprites. So the one thing I'm going to do, I can be able to copy my code to all the other sprites. How do you do that? So you pick the code, you drag it, and then you bring it to the sprite. Once the sprite shakes, as you can see, the apple shaking, it means the code has been copied under Apple. So once I click on Apple, I can be able to see the code. So we can be able to reuse or duplicate our code blocks once we've created them. So I want this to be duplicated to all my sprites. So I'm going to do the same with the cheese, the same with the melon. So I wait until it shakes. The banana. My banana is not shaking. Yes, so my banana is shake. Yes, so I have it under banana. Then lastly, the donut. So I wait until it shakes to confirm that it has copied. And as you can see, once I click the donut, I have the code. The banana, I still have the code. The watermelon, I still have the code. The cheesy, I still have the code. The apple, here it's the code. And where we started under my character. So for the apple, I want the apple to be up here. So I need to read that position. So that position is x is -8. So I put here -8. And then y. Y is, this is the y value. So I read that and I'm able to put it here. So y is 1, 2, 5. There's no negative. So then I click the flag and I see. So you can see my apple has changed the size and then it has gone to that position. So I can increase the size maybe to make it bigger. So I can put 30%. And as you can see, it has become bigger. So you just adjust them based on their size. So the next one, I'll go to the cheese. So where's my cheese? So I want to place it. Cheese. So where are you? So I'm going to place them maybe here, at the end here. So we need to, oh, it has moved, but I need it to be somewhere here. No, somewhere here, down here. So we put it down here. No, the cheese is the unhealthy food. It's the snack. So the snacks should be on the road to obstruct, on the paths to obstruct, so that once the Agnes is passing around, they can be tempted by the cheese and they be able to, they have to decide if they want to eat them or not. So once I place the cheese here, I'm going to read the coordinates of that cheese. So the x is 181, so I'm going to replace this with 181. And then the y, I'm going to replace with this, which is -75. So we replace that with 75, okay? So that's it. So once we click the flag, it's supposed to be in that position. So the next one is the watermelon. So the watermelon has different costumes. So we have this one and we have this one. So let's pick the one that is a bit attractive. Maybe this one, yes. So we pick the third costume. So we have to tell our watermelon to change to costume. So how do you change costumes? We go to looks. Then we pick a costume. So I want when the flag is clicked, it switches to costume 3, which is, so we have A, B, and C. So we want it to change to watermelon C. So that it looks like that, which is very appetizing and a good fruit. So then we put the size, but now we want to dictate the position where we want it. So for the healthy foods, someone has to struggle, go look for them. So we hide it somewhere here. Yeah, we can hide it there. Yes, so we need to read that position. So what position is that? So the X is 58, so we go to X and type 58. And then our Y is 117, so we put that 17. Yes, and then we'll click. Oh, it's too small. The size is too small, so we need to work on the size. So we change the size to 40. Let's see. Is 40 visible? We can also make it bigger to 50. Let's try and see which one looks better. Yeah, 50 is better. So we can see that we have 50 there, the size. So we are left with the banana and the donut. So let's do the banana also. So we have to work on the position. Where do we want our banana? So let's see if we have, no, we don't have a costume for the banana. So where do we want our banana? So we hide it somewhere here. So we read the position, that is negative 147 for the x-axis, and then for the y it's 42. So we put 42 here, 42. So we tell it to go to that position. Good. So I want it maybe there. Yes. Will I get it there? Yes. So we want it there. So we need to confirm our position. So which one changed? So the y changed to 58 because I moved it. So we put it there. So I'm trying to use the different blocks to be able to place our different elements where we want them to be. So lastly, we do on the donut. So the donut has to be on the way. So we have to look at our parts and put it in a place where we know it's going to obstruct the way so that it's tempting to our user, to Agnes, so that Agnes is supposed to make a decision whether she's going to eat the snack or not. So the position again, the X and the Y axis, then we click on the size. So good, but I want it here. So I'm going to change the position. So that changed to 83. I'm going to put 84, and then the X changed to 43, like that. Good. So yeah, so we have our donut here. So let me push it up a little. Yes, like that. So once we have now all our characters in place, so what do we need? What has been left is the movement of Agnes. So what do we need to do? We need to control Agnes. We need to give Agnes directions on how to move, from what point to how to move, and give them, make it interactive so that Agnes is able to move. So how do we do that? So what we need to do is now we need to give the controls so that now the controls are able to tell us how to move. So we want Agnes to be able to move until they get to the end. So how will the movement be continuous? We use a forever control block, or it's called a loop, or forever. It means it's going to repeat forever without stopping. So we want the movement to be forever. We don't want it to stop. That's why we're using the control forever. Then how are we going to move? So first, we need to use the different. We said you need to decide how your movement is going to take place. Is it going to be through the keyboard, or are you going to use the mouse to be able to move to the different directions? So you have to decide that. So in our case, in our game, we are going to use the arrow keys in our keyboard to be able to make our movements. So let's do this. So once we have the forever, we want to use our keys in the keyboard to be able to move. So that's when we bring now the if statement. So we put the if inside the forever because the movement is going to be forever. But how are you going to move? That's why we put the if statement. So we say the if establishes if a statement is true or false. So we want our character to be able to move up, down, left, right, because as you can see, the directions are in both left, right, up, and down. So we have to dictate all those. So what do we want to do? We want to be able to move up. How do we move up? We use a arrow, an up arrow in our keyboard. So we have to put, we said in this space, we use either an operator or a sensor. But in our case, I want us to use a sensor so that Agnes senses it's time to go up, it's time to go left, it's time to go right, it's time to go down. So we use sensors, and then we're going to use the sensor for when the key is pressed. So we use this one. So we put the key. So we tell Agnes when up arrow is pressed, what do we want you to do? We want you to move up. How do you move up? You go to motion. Up and down is along the x-axis. X-axis. Then left, right is along the y-axis. So we have the y and the x. We have the x up and down and y left, right. So we're going to change the x position. But this time, we are going up. Sorry, what the coordinates? We said x and y. So x is the left, right. Y is the up, down. Yes. So we're going to change the y, not the x. So we change the y. And then because the positions are the maze is quite small, the spacing is not big, so we decide by how many steps are we going to change it. And then once it goes up, it's a game, so we have to put the challenge. We don't want you to come to touch the lines. Once you touch the line, it's an error, and you're able to, it takes you back to your starting point. So we tell it another if. So we bring another if inside our first if. So we tell it, if the up arrow is pressed, we want you to move up 4 steps. But if you touch, that is sensing again, if you touch the blue color, in our case we are using blue. So we have to look for the blue color. Yes, I hope it's that one. Yes, the blue color. Then it makes a sound. So it has to give you the buzz sound to tell you that you've touched the line and you're not supposed to touch the line. So sounds, another block we've been talking about. So we pick the sound that we need. So in our case, we want a buzz sound so that it keeps you off. So we use that sound. So we come here to our code, and then we choose the sound that we've chosen, buzz. So once it touches the line, it's gonna make a sound, and then it will take you back to the starting position. So that you start again because you made an error. So what was our starting position? Remember when we started, we told Agnes to stand in position 16 and negative 140. So here we're going to do 16 and negative 140. So every time Agnes touches the line, they're taken back to the starting point. So you're not supposed to touch the line. You're supposed to move through the maze, but do not touch the lines. So that is one of the challenges that we are bringing in the game. Remember, we talked about the conflict. So we want our Agnes to be able to eat the healthy foods, but at the same time, we are putting challenges to restrict her from accessing these goals that we want her to achieve. So far, we've been able to use the control blocks. We've been able to use the sensing blocks, and we've been able to use the motion, looks, and sound blocks. So let us continue. So as you can see, Agnes can be able to move up. Let's try. So let me view this so that everyone is able to see well. So once I click the flag, Agnes, everybody takes their position, and then Agnes should be able to move up. As you can see, letter A is moving up. But what happens when I touch the line? So it's not sensing, meaning that we put the wrong blue color. So let's work on the color again. So this color, so it has to be the same as the color on our maze. So it should be that one. Yes. Yes, something like that. Now, let me stop the game. So make sure the color matches with the color of your line so that you don't have conflict with that. So I can click start again so that Agnes goes to the initial position. Now we are supposed to do the movement for both up, down, left, and right. So I'm not going to write this again. I'm going to use the power that I have to duplicate. So I'm going to duplicate the if statement, then I put it just below the other if. Then I'm going to change this. The first one was up, so I'm going to put this one to be down, and then I'm going to tell it when you're going down, we move negative. And then the sound and the position will not change, so I'm going to duplicate again the same if, and then I put it below the second if. This time I'm going to change the arrow to be left, and then left we are talking about changing the X position. So I'm going to change my motion from Y to X. So I have to replace, I remove this one. So I'm going to remove the Y, I'm going to replace it with the X, and then I put left should be negative, right? So we put negative 4, and then I duplicate this again. I put it just below it, and then we change the left to right, and then we change position from negative to positive, just like that. So we're able to come up with 4 codes just by duplicating the first one that we made. So we have the up, down, left, and then right, like that. So that's it. So all of them, once you touch the line, you're supposed to go back to the starting point. Now let's come to the most interesting part of our game. We want Agnes to be able to eat the different foods that we have in our game. Either the healthy foods, which are the fruits in this case, or the snacks, which she's not supposed to eat. So how do we do that? So we have to introduce another conditional statement to tell Agnes, once they come across the fruits, we want them to be able to eat the fruits and enjoy them. So how do we do that? So we get another if, and then we put it just below these if blocks. You can look at this if block that ends here. So we introduce another one just below it. But this time we want Agnes to be able to eat the fruit. So how do we eat the fruit here? So we have to tell Agnes what to touch. So we go to the sensing, and then we take the touch, and then we put it here again. So we tell Agnes, once you touch, we start with an apple. Once you touch an apple, we want you to maybe make a sound. So we can tell to make a sound. So which sound is good for eating? So maybe a bite sound to show that Agnes is biting the apple. So yes, that one. So let's use that. Yep. So we use the bite. Yes. So to show us that Agnes is eating the apple. And then what else will make us know that? Remember, the sound is to make the game interesting. So the game, we said it must have the fun bit the challenges. It must also be interesting. So that's why we are adding the sounds to make it interesting. Feel you're biting an apple. So we make a sound. Then maybe we can even say how sweet it is. So we can add some, say here. So we say, let's say, wow, it's yummy for 2 seconds. And then now we have to introduce something else here. What yesterday we looked at and said, we have what we call variables that help us to work around our data. So we said we want, once Agnes is eating these healthy fruits, she's adding nutrients and vitamins in her body. So we have to add that aspect of the score or the levels or the points that she's earning. So in our case, we're going to add the points and we're going to create our variable to stand for these points, which in our case represents the nutrients or the vitamins that she's consuming. So we create a variable. So you go to variable blocks, then you say make a variable. And then it will ask you for the name of your variable. So in our case, we might call it healthy diet. Yes, let's call it that way. Then, as we said, we have two options. You can choose the variable to be visible for all your sprites or just for one sprite. But for our case, we want it to be visible to every sprite. So we click here and then we say, okay. So as you can see in our stage, let me view that. We have the healthy diet variable already visible. So we can be able to see our points once we eat the healthy food. So once we have our variable, we need to know what do we want to do with this variable. So in our case, we said once we eat the healthy food, we get points. So we are going to add points. Once we eat the snacks, we are going to lose points. We are going to lose our points. So we want, once you've eaten an apple, so if you touch an apple, so you're going to say, wow, it's yummy, and then make some sound. Then earn points. So how do we earn points? We change the value of the variable. So change the variable, which in our case is the healthy diet variable. And then how many points do you want to give? Let's say 3 points if you eat an apple. So that's how we're going to manipulate our variable. So we have our variable already we've created, which is healthy diet. And then you can see it here and it has a blue tick. And then now we want to be able to change the diet once we eat fruits. If we eat snacks, we reduce the points. So I'm going to repeat this. So I'm going to duplicate this so that I have one for the apple, another one for the banana, another one for the watermelon. Yes, so let's have those 3. So we have one for the apple, we have another one for the bananas, and then we have the last one for our watermelon. So every time you eat a watermelon or you eat a banana or you eat an apple, you earn 3 points. But we're going to duplicate the same code. We put it just below it. But we want every time we eat a donut or we come across a donut and we decide to eat it, we lose points. So we put here negative. So we can put -6. So once you eat a donut, you lose 6 points. We duplicate again. We put for the cheesy. So that every time you eat the cheesy puffs, you also lose 6 points. So that's why you put a negative here. So negative is for subtraction. I know you're good with that. And positive is for earning points. So we've been able to cater for everybody. So once we come across the fruits, we earn points. Once we decide to eat the snacks, we lose points. And then maybe we can even have a description of why we're not supposed to eat snacks all the time. We're supposed to eat fruits. We're supposed to eat vegetables. You can add all that to make your game more interesting. So I want to bring another challenge. So I'm going to go to the cheesy puffs or the donut. So let's start with the cheesy puffs. So I want the puff to be bouncing and blocking the path. So let me show you this. So I want the puff to be jumping up and down so that it blocks the path, so that it can tempt Agnes to eat them. So how do we do that? So we can be able to make them bounce up and down or left and right so that they can be able to block the path. So how do we do that? So we're going to change the movements. So we go to the looks. So we wanted to, the path we wanted to move up and down, up and down. That is along the y-axis. So in the y-axis, so we have to go to change, in the motion, we change the y. We want to change the y-axis. So we want to change it to be moving up 8 steps maybe. And then it moves down. Again, it moves down another 8 steps. Let's make them equal so that it goes up 8, goes down 8. 8, 8, up, 8, down, 8, up, 8, down. But now, once I do 8 up, 8 down, as you can see, it just keeps going up and up and up. It will never go down, which is not what I want. So I want it to be moving up and down to go back, going back to the position it was in. So I'm going to put a block between these two so that it helps them work alternating instead of just moving up and up. So I'm going to put a block here and tell it to wait. So I want it to move up and then wait for 1 second and then move down. Down should be a negative, sorry. So let's click this. So it goes up, down, up, down, up, down, just like that, up, down. So as it goes up, it's going to block the way. So maybe let's see if you can add the steps to be 9 so that it really tempts Agnes very well. So we put, yes, that one is better. So it's going up, down again. Yeah. So, but how will this be made continuous? We want it to be continuous, up, down, up, down. So we have to use another control of forever so that it is forever moving up, down, up, down. But now there's an error. As we said, when we are coding, we come across bugs. So as you can see, very little action is happening. Let me put it big so that you can see. So you can see it's just bouncing. And that's not what we want. We want it to move up and down, up and down. So I'm going to stop it. Then I'm going to put another weight just below here so that it moves up, waits for 1 second, goes down, wait for another second, then goes up. So let's try that. So as you can see now, it's moving up, down, up, down, up, down. Yes, that's what we want. So let me stop it. So I'm going to join these 2 blocks so that once the flag is clicked, it is able to move up and down, as you can see. So as you can see, it's moving up and down. And it's able to block this path. So it's up to Agnes to know how to pass through this route without touching the cheesy puffs so that she does not lose points. So that's what we want. So I want the same thing to happen to the donut. So I'm going to copy this code and paste it on the donut. So we said you drag it, then you come across what you want to drop, and then you wait until it shakes. So as you can see, I have it here, but I also have the code that was there before. So, but for the donut, it is going to be moving along the XY. So we are going to change this. So let me remove this. So we have the forever, but now we want along the X. So we go to motion, we look for the X. So we remove the Y and replace it with the X. Yep, so there it is. Where is my donut? It ran away. So here it was. So I'm going to tell you to go to the position, yes. Stop. So we want it to move left, right. So it's supposed to start with a negative, then positive. So I can click on it. Then we see if it's moving. Yes. So as we can see, it's moving left, right, and obstructing the way. So Agnes has to find a way to pass through that without touching the donut. So let me join them so that it's equal. So that's it. So we are done. So we are able to control our donut. So once I click the green flag, as you can see, the donut is moving and obstructing the same way to the cheesy puffs, but the fruits are just hidden somewhere. And then we can also add such that once you reach to you've collected all the fruits, you're supposed to have how many points? So 3, 3, and 3. So those are 9 points. So once you have 9 points and you reach to the apple, you go to the next level. So we can add another level so that you make it harder as the levels continue. The way we said yesterday, you need to make your game more interesting by introducing more challenges and at the same time being able to introduce the different challenges and awards or rewards for every step of the way that you bring around in your game. So that is how I was able to come up with that game. So as you can see, it is almost the same. Oh, we forgot to put the orange background. Okay, but we can put that one. It's very easy. So we have we've been able to put our variable. We've been able to manipulate the different scores. How do we want our variable to keep changing? And then position the different foods that we have. And then we've been able to control the movement of our character, who is Agnes, and we've given her instruction to follow the up, down, left, and right arrows to be able to move. So that's how we manipulate our movement. So as we talked about yesterday, the conditionals, we've seen how to use the forever because we want the action to be repeated through the game. The if statements, they help us to evaluate the statements if they are true or false. So in our case, if you want to move up, if you want to move down, so it has to confirm if you're going up and what should happen once you're going up. That's why you put, if this is true, then we move up, we change the Y position by 4 steps. Then we also introduced another condition so that once you touch the line, you're able to get to hear the buzz sound and it is able to take you to the initial position or the starting position. So that's how you use the conditions. We've been able to use even another condition when we were controlling the different sprites like the donut and the cheesy puffs to be able to tell them that they should keep bouncing up and down continuously using the forever. So we've also been able to use the sensing block. So today in our game, we did not apply any operators, but we were able to use the sensing block. So we used the different one for Boolean. Remember we said yesterday the ones with the axe. are the ones which are for Boolean. All that. So that's it. Then we've been able to create our variable, which was healthy, and be able to make the different scores, to manipulate our scores. We want it to increase the score and to reduce the score once they eat the unhealthy food. So yes, maybe we can handle the different questions. So let us look at the questions that we have. So Dennis from Melelo School, they're asking, how do you duplicate a block? So I can repeat that so that you're able to see that again. So as we were working on our code, let me share my Scratch screen so that you're able to see it again. Yes, here it is. So these are our blocks. So if I want to duplicate this block, so I hope you can see my block clearly. Let me make it bigger. Yes, so here it is. So if I want to duplicate a block, I just come to the block, I right click on the block. You right click on the block. It's going to give you 3 options. Duplicate, then you drag and drop your duplicate there. Have you seen that? So let me delete this block. Okay, I'm deleting the whole of it. So you click on the block, you just come to the block, then you right click it. You can either duplicate, you can also add a comment. So we said comments are for description. So here I can write, what is this block doing? So I can say my block is supposed to move the sprite up and down. So we said the comments are very important. They help you remember what you wanted to do, so that if you're having a problem or you're having an error, you can be able to work out with the error because you know exactly what you wanted the block to do. But if you want to duplicate, you just right click, then you click on duplicate. Then you just drop it where you want. If you want to copy your code to other sprites, you drag the code. Let me close the comment. You drag the code and then you drag slowly. And then if you want to put it under Apple, let's say it's under Apple. So I'm going to drag it, come, look at Apple and make sure Apple is bouncing, is swinging. So once it swings, can you see it swinging? If it's swinging, it means that you've been able to copy. So once I go to Apple, I should be able to see that code. So in our case, it is not there. We didn't copyright. So let's go back again and do it. So you drag, you put under Apple, then you drop it there. So you come to Apple, you'll find your duplicate. It's here. So you can either copy, you can copy your code to others, or you can duplicate your code so that you have 2 of them or more, as many as you want to duplicate, to avoid doing the same thing over and over again. So I hope that was clear. Then Shadrach from Melelo School again is asking how to expand the mess. Which mess are you talking about, or it's the maze? Okay, so if you want to expand your maze, make it bigger. So again, you click on the maze, then you go to costumes, then you have to select it, or you have 2 options. You can use, down here we have the minimize to make it smaller icon. Can you see it? This one is for making it smaller. It has a minus sign. You make it smaller. And then we have the maximizing one to make it bigger. So you click on it. It will keep making it bigger, as big as you can see it's becoming. So you can be able to scroll your maze and see through it. So that's my maze. Yes, It's that big. So if I want it to fit this grid, so I just click on the equal sign. The other option is you click on select. Then once you click on select, you select now your maze, you drag, just select all of it. It has small lines, you can see it selecting. Then it's gonna give you the blue highlight to show that you've selected all of it. And then you can be able to expand it now using these corners. You just drag it and make it as big as you want. So just make it big and bigger. Yeah, so that way. So there are different ways of making it bigger. So actually, you see now it's big. It's fitting on the whole screen. Then you can be able now to adjust the position and put it the way you want. Yeah, like that. So you see now it's fitting evenly. And then now you can be able to put your apples or your different fruits the way you want them to be, the position you want them to be in. So you just work on them. You organize them the way you want them. Yep. And you give them the exact position using the go-to, as we said, as we work while we were coding. So we can answer another question. How do you change the costumes? Okay, that's a very good question. So how do you change the costumes? So I'll come to my Scratch. Then I'm going to look at the sprites that I have. For example, I have the letter A. Once I click on letter A, I click on, we have code, then we have costumes. So in the costume area, this is where we have letter A. You come here, and then you check if your letter has a costume. So like in my case, it doesn't have another costume, but I can decide to create my own costume of the same letter A. So I just choose, I create. So you click on choose a costume, then you click on paint. So it will give you the empty one. Then you're able to draw. So for example, letter A is a text. So I can just click on text and then I write my letter A. So as you can see, it's there. So once I select my letter A, I make it as big as I want. I can even change the style, how it's appearing so that it's more beautiful. Or maybe I put it like a handwriting. Yeah, it can look like that, or even like that with some decorations. I can put it simple. I can even translate it if I want, yes. So let's use that one. And then I can even change the color. So I can change the color. Maybe I make it red or greenish. Yes. And then I'm able to work on the costumes. So that is if I don't have a costume, then I give it a name. So maybe I can call it Glow 2 because you already have Glow 1. So we have Glow 2. So if your sprite has costumes like the watermelon, it had 3 costumes. We have the full watermelon, we have the half watermelon, and then we have a slice of the watermelon. So they have names A, B, and C. So once you're coding the watermelon, you tell it to, you go to looks, and then you tell it to switch the costume. That's what we used. Switch costume to the specific one that you want. In our case, we wanted watermelon C. So if you wanted to keep changing the costume from A to B to C, you just tell it to keep changing. So how do you do that? You go to the controls again, and then you tell it maybe to forever. I didn't write it there. Wanted here. So forever. Switch costume. So if I use forever switch costume, I have to use the wait so that it changes to costume A, waits for 1 second, changes to another costume, just like that, so that you're able to see all the costumes continuously. So maybe I can try that as we look. Where is the watermelon? Did I click on it? Oh, sorry, not switch. It should be next costume. So I tell it forever, wait for 1 second, and then put the next costume. So I do that, then I click on the watermelon. So you can see it's changing the different costume that it has. So it's able to put the full melon, half, then the slice, all like that. Then I can stop the action. So yes, make your game as interesting as possible. So that's it. If we don't have any other question, we can end today's session. And thank you all for attending and for asking the many questions that you guys have been able to ask. Bye-bye.